Good afternoon again. I'm so sorry to interrupt your lunch, but one of the things that we've always had as one of our values here is finishing on time. So with your permission, we're going to start the program, and you continue to enjoy your lunch, and I know some of you are just getting your lunch, but we'll be doing a few things up here, and I just want to let you know that today, in addition to doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing, I'm taking the place of our new leader of the Calvin University School of Business, our dean, Jim Ludema, who I think he looked forward to this day, the whole day, this luncheon, our dedication tonight of the new building, which is, of course, right next door. I think he looked forward to this as much as I did. And unfortunately, he can't be here with us in person because while he was quarantined with his wife, he got COVID. So I'm going to do my best Jim Ludema impersonation and try to carry on with some things that he was going to cover with you. Many of you know our mission here at Calvin University is to prepare students to think deeply, to act justly, and to live wholeheartedly as Christ's agents of renewal in the world. And we're so blessed by so many of you as partners that we have to work with in doing this good work. Just to kind of give you a little update on what we're doing here, this year we welcomed 500 undergraduate students in business, and I'll tell you, they're excited about our new building. We also have approximately 160 business minors. We do offer 6 majors in the School of Business, and that includes 3 Bachelor of Science degrees in accounting, financial planning, and our brand new operations and supply chain management degree. We also offer Bachelor of Arts degrees in finance, marketing, and human resource management. We have 2 master's degrees now. For those of you that haven't been around for a while, we've got a master's in accounting, and we also have an MBA, which is an online asynchronous program enrolling students from all over the world, and we just graduated some of our first MBAs this fall. And I had the good fortune to meet a couple of them, and it's a great program, and they loved it. So that's some of the new things going on. Just to kind of show you a little bit more of what's under the hood, in a couple of our degrees, we have things like analytics and research, marketing management, and professional selling as concentrations in marketing. We also have an entrepreneurship minor, and I'm sure you're going to hear more about it if you haven't already. We have the Calvin Startup Garage, which is an exciting new program, which is going to be located in this building and is led by John Verlee. And so we're just really excited about the opportunities that's going to create, not just for business students, but for all students at Calvin. And the goal is to launch 100 businesses in 10 years. So stay tuned. Again, I talked about our graduate programs. Just to point out, in the MBA program, we do have concentrations in organizational leadership, nonprofit management, and business analytics. Experiential learning is really one of the distinctives of our business program, and kind of one of the hallmarks of that is our Calvin Action Projects, and you're going to hear a little bit more about those today when we give our awards. These projects are part of the curriculum that our students take in their marketing classes, in their capstone classes, in a bunch of other classes that they take, where they work alongside folks just like you on real business problems. And it's just a great way for them to cement the learnings that they're getting in the classroom. If you're interested in getting involved in a CAP project, see me. I think my email address and contact information is on the back of the program. We also love to have our students do internships, and a very high percentage of our students do have that chance to work with all of you and people like you in businesses while they're students. And of course, many times these internships turn into full-time employment after graduation. So if you're interested in hiring one of our students as an intern and making that connection, contact either our career services offices, or again, you can get a hold of me, and we'll be happy to tell you more about the opportunities there. Finally, I just want to tell you that in the years that I've been at Calvin, and it's almost 20 now, the landscape for the student experience has changed dramatically. The student organizations that we have are incredible. We've got a marketing club that's very active. We, of course, have the Calvin Startups Group, which will be very actively involved with the Calvin Startup Garage. We have Night Investment Management. This is awesome. These students, under the direction of Leonard Van Drunen, and Leonard, you're here somewhere. I see your head right back there. There he is. They actually manage a part of our college endowment, and they do quite well, but they learn a lot about doing research and making investments, and they learn a lot of leadership along the way. We also have the Women's Business Network, which is a program that we have where women business leaders in the community come together and mentor our women business students. It's, again, a great program. And then we have Nexus, which is, it's called a peer financial coaching program. Our students actually learn to come alongside other students and help them think about their finances in a biblical way. And while it's called a peer coaching program, it's really a discipleship program. And it's just amazing. It pairs well with our BS in financial planning and prepares students for great careers in that field. So that's just a little bit of an update. I'm sure Jim would have done a much better job than I did, but that's some of our excitement. The one thing I want you to know is that in addition to these things, we're still working on new stuff. So we've got a bunch of exciting new programs that we're working on that you're going to hear about. I've likened the School of Business to a big product development organization, and we just have a steady stream coming out, which is, as you know, important just for kind of keeping up and trying to stay a little bit ahead of the business community. So again, I want to thank all of you for the ways that you are part of the way that God blesses us here at Calvin, because we can't do this alone. We need your partnership, we need your help, and we so appreciate it. Okay, moving on. How did I do? Was that a good Jim? All right, good. I've got Jim on Zoom here, so I don't know if he can hear me, but don't tell him. Calvin Business Partners Awards. This is one of the reasons that we do this, is to honor our outstanding partners. And this year, we moved the School of Business across the Beltline and into our new home. And if you have time afterwards, feel free to walk around that building. It's amazing space. Our students love it. Our professors love it. And we're so grateful for the gift that it's become in such a short period of time. In spite of the global pandemic and the supply chain issues and labor shortages that we've all heard about, our outstanding business partners turned our dreams and the gifts of our donors into an amazing facility, an amazing reality, on time and under budget. Now, how many times have you heard that, right? Yeah, it's crazy talk, right? But God does crazy things, and we are so thankful. We presented special awards to 3 of our partners who were instrumental in making this happen, and they're here with us today, so I'll acknowledge them and ask them to stand. First of all, GMB Architecture and Engineering. We thank them so much for their innovative building and their site design and all the work that they did to make this happen on time. So you guys want to raise your hands and wave, and people can thank them. GDK Construction provided excellent overall project management and construction services, and I'll say this for them because I know that Chuck and Dustin and Kyle would all say this, that it's their subs that made this happen too, but somebody had to be kind of the person in charge, right? So Chuck and Doug, we just thank you so much. Last but not least, Custer. Incorporated. They provided furnishings, design, and installation services for our classrooms, for our faculty offices, and for all of the great study lounge spaces that are on that main floor and on the floors up above. And I'll tell you this, they donated their services, they donated their design work, and they did what we in the furniture industry used to cringe about. I don't think they made any money on this job, but they just wanted to partner with us. So where's Todd? You guys are here somewhere. Lana? Where are you? Oh, right over here. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Mark. Mark's from Steelcase. We got a lot of Steelcase furniture in this deal. All right, so now we're going to shift to our Business Partners Awards, and Tom is going to come up and help me hand these out. Our outstanding corporate business partner for 2022 is the John A. Vandenbosch Company from Holland, Michigan. The Vandenbosch team has really partnered well with our business program over the years in a number of ways. They've hired Calvin students as interns and employees. They've made financial contributions to the center that I run. 4 of their 6 directors and 3 members of their home office staff are Calvin grads, including their current CEO, Joel DeBruin. And Joel is here with us today to receive the award. He's a Calvin accounting graduate. But their most remarkable contribution in my mind has been their ongoing investment in our students through their involvement in Calvin Action Projects. These CAP projects that I was talking about earlier are just an amazing learning experience and a real differentiator for us. They have done in the last decade more CAP projects than any other company of any size, and I'm just so grateful for that ongoing commitment to helping us. Again, those real-world learning experiences that these students have just allow our students to dig into that uncertainty that the real world is and learn how to work their way through it. And it's rewarding for them, and I think it's rewarding for the companies that sponsor them. So please join me in congratulating John A. Vandenbosch as our outstanding corporate partner. Joel, you want to come on up?
I won't say much, but it is just a joy to work with the students, the passion they have, the inquisitiveness, and if you're a small company, you don't have to be a large company to do these capstone projects, so just encourage you to talk to Bob and take the opportunity to do it. So, thank you.
Thanks. All right. Okay, our outstanding individual business partner for 2022 is my friend, David Cook. Let me tell you a little bit about Dave. Dave holds the distinction of being the last faculty member of the School of Business who had an office in the Heckman Library basement when it was the home of the economics department. Any of you remember that? Yeah, I see hands and people murmuring, yeah. Over 37 years, David served the students of Calvin well through his excellent teaching, advising, and service to the department and university. Dave also served as the department chair at pivotal times in our history. Dave was instrumental in establishing the Calvin Center for Innovation in Business and for many of our significant curricular changes over the years. Finally, Dave was responsible for recruiting many of the outstanding faculty members that now serve our students. Please join me in congratulating and thanking our friend, colleague, and outstanding business partner for 37 years, Dave Cook.
Maybe we do have.
Maybe we did.
Yeah, maybe.
Dave's that good, yeah. All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
If I may?
Yeah.
Thank you. I am humbled to be up here receiving this award today as someone who's been an insider at Calvin up until 14 days ago, at which point in time I retired. And so I have to say that I am accepting this award on behalf of a lot of folks that are inside of Calvin College and have participated over the years, okay? I've been inside. Bob Ames has been the Mr. Outside to my Mr. Inside, and the ability to tell the story. There's a story to tell, and Bob has been just exceptional at telling that story. And so I accept it on behalf of him. I accept it on behalf of the faculty members that have caught the vision of what business can do in a Christian context. And I appreciate each and every one of you that takes the time to come out here and honor that and make that happen. I have to thank Professor Pruitt, his father Don, who saw that vision way back when I was a student and planted that seed. And all of this could not have happened without an administration headed by Galen Biker that saw what a difference and what an opportunity business could have and business could do, and how to be excellent as a business program in a Christian college should be. And so I accept it on behalf of all the folks that have been inside over the years to make this happen. And on their behalf, I thank you. Take care.
Awesome. Well, thank you, David. I think you can see why he got that award, right? If we have any technical difficulties in our next act, we're going to have him do a tax lecture. Because now we're going to try to do something that I'm going to need some help with. Because we're going to switch to our keynote, and Jim is actually going to be joining us virtually from home. And our keynote speaker, Arthur Brooks, is going to be joining us from Massachusetts, where he taught a class this morning at Harvard, where he's a professor. He's actually called the Professor of Happiness at the business school. So strap in tight. While we're getting the Zoom up, I just wanted to let everybody know that Joanna Bohr joined us a couple of minutes late. She flew in from London and didn't even take time to change. She said, "I'm sorry for being casual. I think she looks great." But she's here, and please welcome her, too, for joining us.
Hi, Jim.
I understand it's getting a little busy in London these days. Yeah. Joanna is an entrepreneur, and I think we'll see her at the Startup Garage. But all right, I think we have Jim and Arthur on the screen. We'll get them up on the big screen, and I'll let Jim. You look like you're doing okay. I'm getting a thumbs up, so that's good. And Arthur, it looks like you're doing well too.
Couldn't be doing better. Thanks. Great to be with you.
Very good. We're glad to have you. All right. I think I'll let Jim, you're going to do the introduction and take it away.
Very good. Well, thanks a lot, Bob, and hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you today, but as Bob may have mentioned, I have COVID, and that's why my voice sounds a bit like a bullfrog. But I'm very happy to be here today, and thank you very much for being here as well. To begin, I'd just like to extend a very hearty congratulations to GMB, GDK, Custer, and Professor David Cook for your Calvin Business Partner Awards. Each of you has made immeasurable contributions to the health and vitality of the Calvin University School of Business, and for that we are deeply grateful. And now it is my honor to introduce our distinguished speaker, Arthur Brooks. And let me just say, Arthur, we are absolutely delighted to have you here with us today. And I'd just like to invite you to take a moment to greet the audience before I introduce you more formally.
Well, thank you, Jim, and thanks to all of you. What a delight it is to be virtually at Calvin University, a place that has a strong, it has a special place in the heart of me and my family. As some of you may know, my father was a visiting professor at Calvin College when I was in high school, and I went to Grand Rapids Christian High School, where I made some lifelong friends still that I see every time I come back to Grand Rapids. If only I could be there with you in person, but we have this technology and makes it possible for us to share ideas. Thank you for having me.
Great, thank you, Arthur. More formally then, Arthur Brooks is a Harvard professor, a PhD social scientist and best-selling author, and a columnist at The Atlantic who specializes in helping people develop actionable strategies to live their best lives. His most recent #1 New York Times bestseller is From Strength to Strength, Finding Success, Happiness, and Deep Purpose in the Second Half of Life. And it is this book that will serve as the basis for many of his comments today. And we are really looking forward to it because very few authors have the capacity to integrate the fields of business and leadership with faith, science, philosophy, and theology the way Arthur does, and even fewer have the capacity to do it with such energy and insight and good humor. So get ready to learn and get ready to be inspired. But also get ready to be challenged, because Arthur is going to be talking today about strivers. People like you and me who spend our careers striving to succeed, to excel, to be better than everyone else, and to be admired for our accomplishments. And Arthur will show how too much striving can lead to hollow relationships, lack of meaning, and profound dissatisfaction with our lives and our careers. The good news, however, is that Arthur will also offer a clear path forward for finding a new kind of success and a deeper form of happiness. So with that, Arthur, are you ready to get going?
Absolutely, let's do it. Delighted to do it, and glad to be with you. I hope you're feeling well, notwithstanding having a touch of COVID.
Yep. No, I'm doing fine and on the mend.
That's great.
Yep. So Arthur, my first question for you, you begin your book, From Strength to Strength, by telling the story of a conversation you overheard on an airplane in which a famous and universally admired man in his mid-80s, someone we would all know, was despondent and was lamenting to his wife that no one needed him anymore and that it would be better if he were dead. Can you share a little more about that story and explain how that relates to the core thesis of your book?
Sure. Let me give you the backstory. When I had that experience, which was about eight years ago now, I was the president of the American Enterprise Institute, which is a large think tank in Washington, D.C. I was living what appeared to be my best life. I was doing well financially. I had a lot of employees. We were flourishing as an organization. I was enjoying all of the fruits of worldly success, really for the top of my own particular profession, which is a scholar in public policy. But I have to tell you, Jim, it's not that I wasn't satisfied. I was afraid. I was noticing that as I was proceeding through my 40s and then into my 50s that I seemed like I was kind of doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, I was getting a little bit better, I suppose, but there was no end game. What's going to happen? I'm going to do my work and turn it in and start again and do my work and turn it in and then just stop? What am I working toward? What's the goal of what I'm actually going to do? And when I stop, then what? What am I going to do when that party is over? And that's when I overheard the conversation on that airplane. It was I didn't know who it was. I just heard a conversation of an elderly couple behind me, and he was explaining to his wife that at night, I couldn't see. I just heard him, talking to his wife, saying he might as well be dead, and his wife trying to console him. Nobody remembers me. Nobody cares about me anymore. She says it's not true. And then at the end of the flight, when the lights went on, and I was getting into my head this vision of somebody who's not like you, Jim, who's not like the people from, the Calvin School of Business. This is somebody who missed all his opportunities, who probably let the chances slip away, and now he's despondent. He's disappointed at the end of his life. Well, when people stood up and I took a look, it turned out to be one of the most famous men in the world. And it occurred to me that the message that we get from the world, and this is not just for people who don't have a strong religious faith. Look, I'm a Christian. It is the most important thing in my life with no exceptions, but I fall prey to this too. The world says, go out and get it. Get the money, get the power, get the pleasure, get the prestige and admiration, and then you'll be happy. And that's wrong. And I kind of know it's wrong, but I keep falling for it. And that was the problem that I had, and that's the problem with the guy behind me on the plane. I said, you know what? I said to myself, you suffered through a PhD and you're a social scientist. Why don't you use it for what really matters in your own life and the life of people in a similar situation? Why don't you figure out this striver's curse, where the world tells you you should be happy, and yet that's not the secret to happiness, and figure out a way to short circuit that curse so you could be successful and happy. I spent the next 8 years looking at the best neuroscience, the best social science, the best leadership and management theory, and I got to tell you, I think I cracked the code. I quit my job as a result of what I found. I wrote it up into a book, and dedicated my life to writing, speaking, and teaching to fellow strivers, and that's what we get to talk about today. Let's talk about how to crack that code for all of us.
Great. Thank you for that introduction, Arthur. My second question is this. We have many people in the room who are not yet in the second half of life.
Right.
Undergrad and grad students and people in their early and mid-careers who are striving like crazy.
Right.
To grow, to develop, to succeed, to be the best, and yes, even to be admired for their accomplishments. And they also may be striving for very good reasons. For example, right, to build better products and services, create jobs, generate more wealth to benefit the community, or even help more people who may
right,
be living on the margins of society. So how do your findings relate to them, those who may be in the first half of life and those who may be striving with very good intentions?
Well, the people in the first half of life, those are the people that I interact with every day. I'm a professor at the Harvard Business School. I'm a professor for people like the younger half of the people in this audience today. They're starting off fast. They're doing great things. They've been told that they have tremendous promise, and they do. But you have to set your expectations in the right way so the cadence of your life can bring you not just success, but happiness. Look, if you're 58 years old like me, there's a lot of changes that you need to make. If you're 25 years old or 30 years old, there's a lot of things that you need to do to start off with a good foundation. It's all the same thing. You know, look, and I talk to people all the time, people who are my age who maybe drink too much. And they say, what do I do? And I say, stop drinking now. What's the advice that I give to people who are 25 or 30? Watch your drinking so you don't get into trouble. It's the same advice. We all want to be happy, whether you're starting out or whether you're in the second half. It's all the same set of secrets and ideas.
Very good. Let me ask you then, what are the secrets and ideas? Because when I was introducing you, I said that based on your original research and insights from science, philosophy, theology, and so on, you would offer a clear path forward for finding a new kind of success and a deeper form of happiness. So can you describe the key steps on that clear path to a deeper form of happiness and why the steps are important?
Absolutely. Now, to begin with, we have to ask, what is it? Everybody kind of knows, but when I ask people, they tend to define it in a very funny way. On my first day of class, my students, I have 2 sections of 90 MBA students and 400 on the waiting list. So this is a popular class. I say, look, you competed to get into my happiness science class. You must know what it means. And I cold call them. All the business students out there are groaning because when the professor cold calls, it's no fun. And I will say, okay, you tell me, what's happiness? And they'll say, it's the feeling that I get on Thanksgiving with my family, for example. One after the other, they talk about feelings. And I say, incorrect. That's the first error. Happiness is not a feeling. Happiness has feelings associated with it in the same way that your Thanksgiving dinner has a good smell associated with it. But you would never make the mistake of saying that the smell of the turkey is your Thanksgiving dinner. Happy feelings indicate that there's a real phenomenon at work, which is happiness. Now, I've studied this for the past 25 years, and there's 3 parts to happiness. The happiest people, they have 3 things. You might think of these as given the fact that we're talking about Thanksgiving, the macronutrients of happiness. So macronutrients of all food are protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Food is made of those 3 macronutrients. And similarly, happiness is made up of 3 big elements, which are Enjoyment, satisfaction, and purpose. Those are the three big things that you need in both balance and abundance. You need to enjoy your life, you need to have satisfaction by having goals and meeting your goals, and you need a sense of meaning and purpose. Why am I alive? And for what would I be willing to die? Now, each of those three things has a whole scientific literature attached to it. Each one of those things has an enormous amount of neuroscience associated with how we get these things. What is enjoyment? It's not just pleasure. What's the problem with satisfaction? Not what Mick Jagger sang, that you can't get no satisfaction. The problem is you can't keep no satisfaction. So what's that all about? And that's especially true for strivers, by the way. And what about meaning? Why is it that so many people have so little sense of meaning? But those are the big three things that we need to be thinking about. Now move from that to start getting to the habits that we need to make sure that we can find happiness. The happiness habits is a very interesting part of the science of happiness. And I can tell you that there's 10,000 research articles on the habits of the happiest people. You don't have to read them. Jim, I've done that, so you don't have to. I'm going to boil that whole ocean of research down to just 4 habits. Now, there's 10,000 little habits, but here's the big 4. This is your happiness 401k plan. So young folks, listen up, and older people like me, tune up. Because what you need to do is to be able to get into a retirement space of true happiness. I don't mean like stepping out, going to Florida. I mean, that might be nice for you. But you want to end up happy, just like you want to end up financially successful. So this is your happiness 401k, meaning these are the 4 things that you need to do every day so that you're getting the right amounts of enjoyment, satisfaction, and purpose. They are, you need to cultivate your faith every day. You need to work on your family life every day. You need real friendships that you're working on, not just deal friendships, real, and we know the difference. And we need work in which we earn our success and which we're serving other people. That is to say, meaningful work. We can talk about any one of those all day long, but it really comes down to, are you not putting a deposit into 4 accounts today? Your faith, your family, your friendships, and finding meaning in your work. If you do those 4 things, you're going to wind up in a much, much better space than if you didn't, and you can make progress every day.
Great. Thank you, Arthur. And speaking of faith, in chapter 7 of your book, you talk about the importance of developing the spiritual side of life when it comes to happiness. And you share a bit about your own faith journey, which I thought was very interesting. Can you say more about why faith is so important and why strivers tend to avoid it?
Yeah.
What we can do to develop it more deeply, drawing both from your research and from your personal journey.
Sure. And, faith is a very interesting one. I know that we're largely in a community of fellow Christian believers, which is so incredibly important because, as we all know, as the Proverbs teaches us, iron sharpens iron. We need to hold each other to account for the relationship that we have with our Savior. This is critically important for our happiness. But there's a lot of work that each one of us has to do within ourselves, which is a super important idea as well. To begin with, let me answer your question about the trouble with strivers. Why do so many strivers resist the idea of a serious religious faith, of a spiritual notion, of a walk in their spiritual lives? And the answer is because strivers learn one thing, which is I'm going to do it my way and I'm in charge. I'm going to fix it if it's broken. One of the things that strivers all have in common is that they're really good at doing stuff by themselves. Here's the problem. You can't find love by yourself. You actually can't be saved by yourself. You can start a business, you can hire people, you can make money, you can fix your sink. I got it. But you know what? You need love. You don't just need love of other people. You need divine love. You cannot find happiness unless you have that. And that takes a different kind of journey. Strivers are really good at cracking the case and solving problems with very complicated solutions. They're not very good at looking within at the simple things that don't have easy solutions. It's a different kind of problem than they face. And so I know a lot of strivers they'll say, yeah, I really feel like I should get back to church, but who's got the time? And then they go off to work. Why? They're distracting themselves from the big problems that they don't quite understand. Now, in my own particular case, I was very lucky. I was raised in a Christian family, a Christian home, evangelical Christians on both sides. I had I mean, I'm from two families of missionaries. My grandfather, who was the dean of Wheaton College, before that he was the director of the Navajo Mission School in the Navajo Nation in New Mexico, where my father was born. My mother's family was missionaries to the Zulus. Now, so I was brought up with a very strong Christian background, but like a lot of young people, I took it seriously, but I don't know, I was going through my 20s, and I married married a girl, and the whole thing. It turns out that along the way, one thing I left out is I had converted to Catholicism. This was kind of a childhood rebellion, I think. In my late teens, I became a Catholic, and my parents were upset by this, but they thought it was, as adolescent rebellion goes, it's probably better than drugs. So, okay. And then through my 20s, I was Catholic. I married a Catholic girl, and the whole thing. We weren't really taking it too seriously, and the whole thing. But then something happened, which is as I got through my 20s, this happens to a lot of people. I started asking big questions, much deeper questions than I ever did before. I thought I was the only one. It turns out in my research as a social scientist, this is super typical. You kind of fall away because you get busy, and young people are kind of are perfectionists about faith a lot of the time. Not everybody, but a lot. They'll ask questions like this. There's so much pain in the world. How can there be a merciful God? How is that possible? Well, by the time you're in your 30s, you start realizing that nothing is very clean and neat in life. And you start to become a lot more comfortable with a messy world, especially after you have children. They're messy. And so it's like, okay, I'm just going to do my best and see what comes along. And then a religious interest starts to intrude and to enter. And I really opened up my heart. I mean, I was a Christian all along, don't get me wrong. But in my 30s, I really opened up my heart, and little by little, so did my wife. And I have to tell you, now it's absolutely the center of what we do. It's so incredibly satisfying to me to be able to teach at a great university and write about these important topics. And then people will discover that what's really going on here is that the source of my solace, the source of what I really care about is my personal relationship with the Master. And sometimes, I got an email this morning, I have to tell you, from one of my students, from one of my Harvard students, who said, I always wanted to know what was kind of the deep magic behind a lot of this stuff. And I came to your office hours and you told me that it was your faith in Jesus Christ. And I got to tell you, it took me a year after graduating, but I'm going to church every week, and I'm engaged to a strong Christian girl. And I got to tell you, that did my heart good, because I know he's got a lot more to do too, but he's on the path to happiness. And I feel like that's a real gift from God that I get put in that particular position.
Great, thank you for that. Just to let the audience know, I'm going to ask Arthur one more question, and then we're going to open it up for your questions. So if you have some, get ready to pose those questions in just a minute. But Arthur, my final question for you is that in the final chapter of the book, you admit that you are still a striver, but that you strive after different things than you used to.
Yeah.
And then you summarize the whole book in 7 words, using a formula that encapsulates all of the lessons that you've learned and now strive to live. And that formula is use things, love people, and worship the divine. Can you share what you mean by that formula and how it guides your striving and your life now?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a thing, we're coming up now, as everybody knows, to our older brothers in faith, the Jews, are about to celebrate, not really celebrate, to commemorate the atonement for their sins in the holy day of Yom Kippur. And it's something every day. It's a very beautiful thing, I have to say. And I've always admired that about our Jewish sisters and brothers. And this year, interestingly, I'll be giving the Yom Kippur sermon in the 25th hour of the holy day, which is the maximum part of the holy day at the main temple in Boston, in the Temple Emmanuel in Boston. And I'm the only Christian who's ever been asked to do this, I have to say. So I take it very seriously. And they know, I realize that Arthur and Esther Brooks, it probably, you could very easily think that we're not, but I was very clear. I said, I'm Christian, right? And they said, no, we know. It's truth in advertising. It's okay. Now, one of the things that I've learned is that they have a prayer at the beginning of Yom Kippur. Jews pray the Vedui in Hebrew, which says, "We have transgressed against you, O Lord, and we are miserable for it." Now, what does this say? That Mother Nature in the world is pressing you to lie to people and to be selfish and to be envious and to be angry with other people and to treat other people with disrespect. And it's not even fun. So what's up with that? All these sins that you commit for your own self-interest, and it turns out they make you miserable? Well, here's the beauty of it. You know, God doesn't make us just to pursue our animal interests. God puts his divinity in us so that we can be more like him. Remember, we're made in God's image. So you can choose to be more like your dog, or you can choose to be more like God. Up to you. How do you do it so that you can live better and be happier? The answer is you have to recognize that you've been living by a misbegotten formula. Here's the formula that Madison Avenue and the entertainment industry and marketing and your own brain and Mother Nature tell you to follow, and then you'll be happy. Use people, love things, and worship yourself. That's what the world tells you. You know, it's like, what are people for? For your own satisfaction, for your own pleasure, for your own advancement. What are you really going to love? The new car, the new house, the admiration of other people, the stuff, the worldly fortunes. I'm going to love that. Now, I'm going to have an actual love relationship with those things. And if I'm basically using people because I'm the center of the universe, and all these things are floating around me in the constellation of pleasure, that means I'm God, and so therefore I'm worshiping me. Well, yeah, it's going to take work, but you got to get the right formula if you're going to be on the right track. This is what I'm going to tell my Jewish sisters and brothers on Yom Kippur, and that's what I put in the end of the book. Just change the verbs and the nouns. There is nothing wrong with things. You know, the Apostle Paul doesn't say to Timothy that money is the root of all evil. It's that the love of money is the root of all evil. You know, the Hindus talk about the fact that life is dissatisfaction because of our attachment to things, because of the love of money, the love of possessions, to be sure. Use the world's abundance and enjoy. There's so many good things that we can use, but don't love those things. Don't be attached to those things. Look, I'm a first-class capitalist, and I want more people to get wealthy. I want more people to have abundance, but I don't want people to fall in love with that abundance because that's a form of idolatry. Second, what are people for? People are there for you to love because they're made in God's image too. And the only ultimate source of your worldly happiness is going to be love. Look, I got study after study that shows that happiness is love. But love only comes for the living beings around us. Only people should be made for love. And then finally, if you've got your things and your people in order, then you can get your worship in order too, and that means worship God. Worship God, from whom all the good things actually come, from whom the divine love proceeds. And if you can get this in order, use things, love people, worship God. I know it's hard because we're fallen and we have bad habits and we live in the world. I got it. It's so hard. But if you bring yourself back to that, if you examine your conscience every night, I can tell you, I'm no theologian, I'm a scientist. And I will tell you as a scientist, you're going to be a lot happier if you hold yourself to account to that formula every day.
Very good. Powerful message, Arthur. Thank you very much for that. And Bob, I think I now need to turn it over to you to invite questions from the audience. Is that correct?
That's correct. Who's got a question for Arthur? All right. I see Steve with his hand up. I'll get you the microphone. Excuse me.
Mr. Brooks, thank you for your wisdom that you shared in
Nice.
From Strength to Strength. It was a fantastic book. I've recommended it all summer long, so thank you very much. In light
Nice.
of the second curve of the crystallized intelligence that you describe in your book, what advice do you have for senior leaders of businesses and other institutions, and maybe even specifically HR leaders, for those folks in that second season to fully utilize their talent?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I appreciate it a lot. I wish I could see you in person, but what a wonderful question. And let me start by explaining I understand that, believe it or not, there's still a few people in the world who haven't read the book. So let me explain exactly with a little bit more detail what you're talking about. Intelligence and ability tends to fall on two curves that get better and then get lower. The first curve is called fluid intelligence. That's your working memory, your innovative capacity, and your ability to focus. And you get much better at whatever you're doing in business or in law, or whether or not you're an electrician or a bus driver. you get better at these things in your 20s and 30s because of those particular skills. You become kind of a cowboy. You know, you're the person who people can turn to. You can crack the code on anything. You can solve the problems. That ability gets better with practice. The fluid intelligence gets higher and higher until you're in your late 30s, and then it peaks and it tends to decline. And it really declines for everybody almost always after that particular time. Many people don't know that they have another intelligence curve behind that with other skills. So what happens is your working memory tends to actually get worse. Your innovation, some people are still very innovative, but you're not as innovative as you were when you're in your 20s and 30s. You find that you're not as fast at recalling things as you were before. You can't solve problems as quickly as you had been able to do before. But that's actually not bad news. It's being replaced by another kind of intelligence called crystallized intelligence that's increasing in your 30s, it's getting high in your 40s, and it's screaming upward in your 50s. That's wisdom. Crystallized intelligence doesn't require a lot of working memory or innovation. It requires your ability to see patterns around you, to be a good instructor, to coach people, to bring different ideas together, to see things around you and put them together into a coherent whole. So for example, when you're in your 20s and 30s, you should be a star litigator if you're a lawyer. And your 40s and 50s and 60s, you should be a venture capitalist who's finding the next great entrepreneur and helping that person succeed. And by the way, you succeeding along the way as well. When you're in your 30s, you should be the star researcher. When you're in your 50s and 60s and 70s, because it stays high in your 70s and 80s, and as long as God gives you your marbles, you're going to have high crystallized intelligence, you can actually be a great teacher. So an innovator or researcher to instructor. What you find is that there's always a way to move from the brains curve to the wisdom curve, from the innovation curve to the instructor curve. So this is the thing for all of us to be successful in the second half of life, and to plan for success in the second half of life if you're in the first half. Think, what's the version of what I do that's kind of the professor version? What's the mentor version? You know, what's the coach version of what I'm actually doing? And if you jump onto that second curve with a lot of humility and a lot of grace, you'll be way happier, because that's not the me curve, it's the we curve. And there's nothing better than being in community and making other people successful. That's why you find these super happy 70-year-old managing partners of law firms. But you don't find very many star litigators who are 70. You find a lot of formerly great litigators who are 70 who are still talking about the old days and feeling kind of bad about it. That's because they're on the wrong curve.
Bob, do we have time for one more?
I think we do have time for another question. Weba.
Sorry, I hope I'm not taking it from someone else. Okay. So as a Yale alum, I'm a bit surprised that, someone so articulate is from Harvard. But
I knew it. A Yale man. It's always the Yale man.
Yeah. So one thing is, it'd be great to get you here like your father was, but I think Harvard probably needs you more than we do. No, I'm saying that in a positive way. But I guess I would just love to hear how you have been able to get and earn the freedom to speak about and teach about your faith so openly at a school like Harvard. I mean, when I was at Yale 20 years ago, it wasn't really possible.
Yeah, it's a great question. I often ask that. I'm very openly Christian. I work with all the Christian groups. I'm teaching secular classes, so I'm not up in the front of the class saying, "Get yourself into church, kids." That would be completely inappropriate for the secular material. What I'm doing is I'm trying to bring the highest standards of teaching and scientific excellence to bear on problems that everybody has, and letting people discover what's behind the curtain for me, Arthur Brooks, professor. And I'm not hiding anything. So I'm hiding in plain sight the fact that the source of my solace, the source of my happiness, the source of my love, the source of my strength comes from my relationship with Jesus Christ. Everybody knows that. And the result of that is that nobody thinks I'm out there trying to indoctrinate them. Nobody thinks I'm trying to sell them the Buick of Christianity. Nobody thinks that. But when they ask me, I tell them, what's your path? The other thing that I do is I'm very respectful of my sisters and brothers of other spiritualities and faiths. I work very closely with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who is, the world's leading Buddhist. We've written together. I see him every spring. I go to his home in Dharamsala in the Himalayan foothills. We've done a lot together, and he always says to me, "I want to make you a better Christian." And I always say to him, I need to be a better Christian. And the truth is, he's so wonderful in this particular way. I learn so much from him. I learn so much from people of other faiths, and I have so much that I get from people of other faiths. One of the things that I learned from one of my friends who is like most of our friends in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, they almost all went on missions. And he used to say, he went on a Mormon mission in France. Can you imagine trying to get people to join the Mormon church in France? I mean, just everything's wrong, right? He said it was door slamming after door, and he finally figured out that his goal was actually not trying to get people to sign up. It was to get people to leave the door open by 1 inch, and then the Holy Spirit would take it from there. And I kind of feel that way. I have to tell you, my goal is to get people interested in the transcendent, interested in the metaphysical, and some of them will come to me, some of them will go in other directions for a while, and I have to be confident. Look, we have to be confident in our faith that everything, we act like that everything is up to us, but in truth, our faith shows us that everything is up to God. And if God wants it to be so, it will be so. One final note on that, and thank you for your beautiful question. Our apostolate, and this as a Catholic is a word that we use for a lot of you in the Protestant world talk about a sense of mission. Our apostolate, to be apostles in a secular world, requires unmitigated excellence. That means moral excellence, and that means technical excellence. So people, you're purer than Caesar's wife in your morally upstanding way that you live, and that you're at the highest standards professionally. And the reason is because when you are, people, they want that. People are magnetized to that. People are attracted to that. They want that. It's funny. It's like my bosses, my deans, the president of Harvard, the provost of Harvard, they know I'm a Christian. What they want from me is excellence, and I try to bring it every day. Every day, every morning, literally I start on my knees. Every morning I go to Mass with my wife at 6:50 a.m. I go to church that's the great thing about being Catholic. You can go every day. You Protestants are like, that's an advantage? That sounds terrible. Anyway, but and it's amazing, and I dedicate my work every day. I say, Lord, give me the strength, give me the insight to be excellent for your glory. Let me lift you up with the excellence that I bring to my secular work. So there's no denying what I am as a person. I'm not hitting anybody over the head. I'm not a missionary knocking on doors. I'm just trying to do the best work that I possibly can and having people discover that the source of my strength is my Lord and Savior.
Arthur, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your inspirational message, and thank you for the very good work that you do in the world. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. God bless you. God bless Calvin University. Keep doing your important work in business, because that's your apostolate. And I'm behind you, and I'm praying for you, and I'll fight for you any way I can.
Very good. Thank you, Arthur. And Bob, I now need to turn it over to you. I know you want to wrap things up, but just let me say to everybody in the room, tonight we have the dedication and ribbon cutting of the new Calvin University School of Business building. It's going to be a great event. My wife, Beverly, and I will not be able to join you because of our COVID, but we know it will be fabulous, and we'll be getting pictures sent our way, and can't wait to hear about how it goes. So Bob, back over to you to wrap things up.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. Just a couple of quick announcements. It's not yet 1:30, but we're going to end at 1:30 promptly, so I promise you that. On November 9th, you're all invited to join us in this building at 7 a.m. For the Future of Everything, our executive breakfast series. We're going to be featuring the future of higher education, and it's going to be, our speaker is going to be President Bohr, and he looks kind of surprised, but it's on his calendar. Trust me, he'll be here, and it'll be great. So join us for that. You can find it on the web. A couple of other quick announcements. If you're interested in Arthur's book, and I read it last spring, and when it first came out, it's a great book. You don't have to be past middle age to really learn a lot from it. We do have some copies for sale outside. And if you buy a copy here, by the way, we do have signed book plates that Arthur sent. So if you like having autographed books, just send me an email and I'll send you an autographed book plate, because UPS hasn't gotten them here yet. But I've been told they're out for delivery. You ever heard that? Anyway, So that's coming up. If you want to get one of those books. He also wrote, the book before that is just as good, and the title of it, in a polarized kind of a climate that we're in right now, is Love Your Enemies. It's a very good book, so I'd encourage you to look at both of those. On your way out today, please leave your name tag. I think they've got some buckets or baskets out there, or just leave it on the table. We reuse the holders, so I'd appreciate that. And also, if you do have time, feel free to take a walk through this new building that we've been talking about. There's some classes going on in there, but we would love to have you. Some of our faculty will be there. And if you can come and join us tonight for the dedication, that's going to be fun too. And it's